Prepare to experience the strongest radio allowable by law. Secrets will be revealed. Myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lenore.
I got to give a shout out to Andrew Barker. He's the first person that liked today's show. You want to hear your name and you're on Facebook, just like the show and I'll call it out. Welcome back to another episode of Superhuman Radio. Today's Tuesday, which means we have the Blueprint Power Hour starting shortly with my co-host. Oh, we got another like. Let's see who it is. Taylor C, always in the house. Thank you very much. Come on, like the show, hear your name. There you go. But before we start with the Blueprint Power Hour, we have to thank Legendary Foods for being our title sponsor. Ron Penna is my patron saint and the maker of the tasty pastry, the Pop-Tart Reimagined. Right now, if you go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary, you'll save 10% off all their products by using the code SHR10. And get a load of this. Visionary just came out with peanut butter for dogs. Dogs love peanut butter. They came out with no sugar peanut butter for dogs. So that's the visionary side of things. But if you haven't tried the tasty pastry, you really are missing out because it is the single best snack, healthy snack with less than 1 gram of sugar, 20 grams of high quality protein, and 4 to 5 net carbs. Check them out. Again, shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use the code SHR10 to save 10% off. We're already getting people lining up with questions. Don't be late. And without further delay, let me bring my guest on, my co-host, actually. And that is Coach Rob Regishj. Play his music. Can't forget his music.
Calling all Blueprint Army. Fall in line. It's time for the Blueprint Power Hour with Coach Rob Regishj on the Superhuman Radio Network.
Hey, Rob, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. That's huge news about peanut butter for dogs. I'll tell you, Molly's going to be excited to hear that.
And you know, when they make this stuff for dogs, they take dogs' digestive systems and metabolism into consideration. So they make stuff that's actually good for your dog, just the way they make stuff that's good for people. Don't forget, all you have to do is, if you're watching on Facebook, is like today's show, and I will call out your name. We already had Andrew Barker and Taylor C. Who's going to be next? What's new with you, Coach?
Well, as we were talking a little bit before, I've been back in the gym kind of negotiating with my body, which everyone will eventually do. But things are going really well. You know, I'm reading my body correctly. I'm making all the right moves, and I've done some new things recently that I'll get into later in the show. I feel good. You know, what can I tell you? I feel great, as a matter of fact.
So, on YouTube, where we actually have our biggest following, believe it or not, Cola Quench said, finally got a notice from YouTube. Missed some great shows last couple of weeks. Yeah, I know. I don't understand why they notify people and why they don't. Of course, Polo Destino, the watch is heavenly. To hit the like button, divine. And that's good. I like that. I set this show as an alert on my iPhone and on the calendar, so YouTube notices are useless. Yeah, I get it. You're right. You know, I'm not that popular. I'm cool with it because I'm gonna be worldwide known very shortly.
For other things.
Good. And you know, it should have been for this show because I've helped a lot of people, but it's not going to be. It's not going to be. I want to play something real quick for the audience just to give them a little hint on what's going on in my life. So sit tight and watch this. Wait, let me get the video. And it's not the whole video. It's just a short clip. Almost 3 years ago, I was in a furniture store with my wife shopping for furniture for a new home we bought. I had to use the restroom, and it was during a period of time where we were forced to wear masks everywhere. I carry inside the waistband appendix, and whenever I use the urinal, I unbuckle my pants, take my holster off, put it on the top of the urinal. And when I'm done, I flush, buckle my pants, and put the holster back in its place. This one day, I was really distracted. Later that evening, around 10 p.m. at night, I was undressing for bed and realized I did not have my gun. I was not prepared for the panic that I felt. After a couple moments of searching my mind, I remembered the last time I had my gun was in that restroom. I immediately called the local police because the store had their phones forwarded. So this is fascinating. In November 2020, I thought I lost my gun. I didn't, but I thought I lost it. And all I kept envisioning was some kid finding my gun in that restroom and then taking it home and shooting his baby sister.
And then you're held responsible.
Oh, for the rest of my life. I would have been in and out of court for the rest of my effing life. And you know it.
I don't understand that about the laws. It's like, who pulled the trigger? It wasn't you. It was the kid who stole your gun.
Well, never mind the fact that all the most recent gun legislature that's being submitted wants to pass the culpability along to the original gun owner. If your gun is lost or stolen and you've reported it lost or stolen, which, by the way, most people don't report their guns lost. I've done a lot of research. This is really amazing. And then your gun turns up in a crime. They want to bring you into the prosecution of that crime because that gun started with you.
Yeah.
So
owners aren't the problem.
And so the reality is that Gun Leash, we will launch Gun Leash very shortly. If you're interested in learning more and getting on a list of some of the first people to have one, go to gunleash.com, GUNLEASH.com. Now, understand, this is not a tracking device. This is a proximity device. It's a small little beacon that fits on your gun. I have one right there at the bottom of my magazine. That's all it is. Doesn't get in the way, won't keep you from using your gun, won't keep you from carrying your gun, but it will keep you from ever losing your gun. And you know what else it does? I take my holster off sometimes when I'm sitting in this chair and I put it here. And then I'm halfway home and I go, oh God, I left my gun at the office. Now with Gun Leash, as soon as I'm walking up the hall, the alarm goes off. I'm like, oh, I forgot my gun. I go back and get it. This is going to be the greatest safety device ever imagined for those of us who carry every day.
Yeah, it'll probably save lives too, right?
And the app will monitor as many guns as you want. Because a lot of it, I have several guns that I carry. I have a pocket gun. I have 2 guns that are holstered. You can monitor as many guns as you want. You just set it for the one that you're carrying that day. Excuse me. And it will keep you from losing your gun. When I called that cop that day, he finished my sentence. I said I was at this furniture store and I had the mask on. I was a little distracted. And for some reason, I don't think I put my gun back on. He says, this is the biggest problem we have right now is people leaving their handguns in public restrooms.
Jeez.
He told me a story about a cop who was a patrol cop in a car with a gun belt and a taser and handcuffs, who went to Chi-Chi's, had lunch, went into the restroom, hung his gun belt on the back of the door, took a dump, rushed to go wash his hands, and left his gun belt in the stall, realized it about 1.5 miles away and went back, and thank God no one touched it. But this is, and most civilians don't report their guns stolen. Lost. If you lose a gun, their attitude is, well, you know what? If it ever comes around, I'll say, I just haven't seen that gun in a long time. I don't know. Then it could have been the maid. It could have been the plumber. It could have been anybody that took your gun. You didn't lose it. You aren't the one who actually lost the gun. They rather do that than call the police like I did and say, hey, I think I lost my gun because now I lost my gun. It's something I did wrong.
Yeah, I was going to say from a legal perspective, I'm sure they're right. Why give them that why give them anything? Because it can only be used against you later.
So go to gunleash.com to learn more and get on a list of some of the initial people that will be able to get it and the app. Okay, enough of that self-promoting. Not something I like doing very much. We can get to our first question. Don't forget, if you're watching live, feel free to post questions and we'll get to them all. So this one comes from Mike Demers. He says, I've heard you talk about glycine, GABA, and Carl had some great commentary about peptides for growth hormone release. I'm only 29, but on the shorter side, and gains have slowed down since starting training. I've been training seriously for about 5 years. What about MK677? It looks like it's the best out there of all of them.
Yeah, well, I think both you and I are going to have some useful comments here. So just to kind of set the table, if you look at the charts for growth hormone decline by age, there is a very noticeable drop, certainly in performance, if not appearance yet, in the late 20s or early 30s. And predictably, when that does happen, people zero in on hormone levels, and it's valid. One of these, of course, is growth hormone, the so-called fountain of youth. And so while it's true, GH does drop quite a bit by age 30, it's nowhere near yet being truly low, at least in comparison to age 40, 50, and beyond. Unless, this is my first rule then, generally speaking, unless you're 35 or older, I don't think a GH product is really warranted. The likelihood of it working noticeably, or even at all, is marginal at best, unless you are injecting super physiological levels of growth hormone. And even then, guys will tell you, look, it's no miracle. The one exception to this rule, taking GH releasers under 35, is if your sleep is poor. And then use of things like glycine and GABA would certainly be warranted. Indirectly, those will transiently increase growth hormone, simply by virtue of the fact that you're sleeping better, right? The first 90 minutes of sleep are generally, one of, if not the largest burst of growth hormone throughout the day. By the way, you can really help yourself out in that department by not going to bed on a belly full of carbohydrates. It's the biggest mistake I see people making with respect to setting themselves up for greater growth hormone levels. Moving up the ladder, we have things like growth hormone releasing hormone. It's been a while for me on this, but with the CJC 1295, I think with and without DAC, drug affinity complex, growth hormone releasing peptides. When I was using them, it was GHRP2, I think 6, and I remember hexarelin and ipamorelin. And then we have things like MK677 and, of course, real growth hormone. They all work, in my opinion, to some degree or another, but of course each is a little bit different. Things like CJC and the growth hormone releasing peptides, when paired, and even when not paired, some of the GRHs, they're very effective. However, they're injectables, and the problem is many people just don't want to inject, especially when it takes multiple times per day, as it does in some cases. Alternatively, we have people that either can't get or don't want to get quote-unquote real GH on the black market, let's say. So many wind up where Mike did, which is inquiring about MK677. Reasons for that include it is the cheapest of the bunch. It's an oral, so people do pills, no problem. And the results, to be fair, are noticeable, and certainly that mix of attributes is understandable. But here's what you need to know about MK. It is no free lunch. Despite what you will hear on some boards, its use can pose several problems, can and does, depending upon how much you use and other things. Those problems include things such as elevated blood sugars over time, water retention, certainly makes you lethargic, tired, and it gives you a ravenous appetite. At least it does for me, right? Like within a couple of hours, of taking it, you become like this bottomless pit, and you're consuming massive amounts of food and digesting and assimilating them. So there are problems there. The biggest problem is probably attenuation. In other words, if you take it day in and day out, which many people unfortunately do, it stops working, right? And
And you know why it stops working?
well, I just figured the normal attenuation
It
process would.
no, it depletes the pituitary of growth hormone.
Yeah, that no, certainly
Actually,
that's
actually,
concerning.
MK677 was abandoned by Merck
Yeah, I remember reading that.
because so Merck was going to introduce MK677 because they thought, oh my God, we have an oral Ghrelin. That's what it is. We have an oral Ghrelin, and old people want growth hormone, but they don't want to inject. We've got it. All the studies, they had large numbers of people drop out because of anxiety, because of blood sugar management issues. But more importantly, after about 3 weeks of using it, their growth hormone levels plummeted, and they didn't come back in old people. It didn't come back to baseline because growth hormone is a pulsatile hormone. Once every 1.5 hours for women, once every 3 hours for men. When you drive growth hormone to be produced all day long, and that's why they say, oh, it increases the trough. Yeah, it increases continuous production throughout the day. This is why CJC 1295 with DAC, which is the only real CJC 1295, because without DAC, it's called growth hormone releasing hormone, modified growth hormone releasing hormone. So the DAC makes it active all the time. Both of these cause the pituitary to become completely exhausted and unable to continue to produce growth hormone. And once you stop using it, it could take months, if at all, for your growth hormone levels to actually come back to baseline. I think none of these are good. This is basically androgen deprivation therapy for growth hormone. When you have prostate cancer, they give you androgen deprivation therapy. They give you long-acting gonadotropin releasing hormone until your testes go, I can't keep up with this, I'm done. And that's what your pituitary does with MK677 and real CJC 1295. You always want to use growth hormone secretagogues that produce a pulse and then stop, because that's really the way it should work. And we have a sponsor. We have a sponsor that has real growth hormone delivered sublingually. And before I would let this guy on, he had to send me a schwack. I mean, he redacted their names, but this was previously only available through doctors. And he sent me about 24 individuals who were using it, and their IGF-1 levels went substantially higher on it. It's called Biopro Plus. And you just put it under your tongue. They have one for nighttime that definitely everybody says they sleep deeper when they use the nighttime version. And they have one that is for mornings, and it will increase growth hormone production in your body because it has real growth hormone in it. shrnetwork.biz/biopro, code SHR30 for $30 off. We're getting really, really great responses from the audience who is saying that their doctors are validating that it's working through blood work.
Yeah, I would love to try something like that. Obviously, at age 52, I just got my blood work back a couple of weeks ago, and while IGF-1 levels were in the normal range, they were like right in the middle. Okay, so not something that I would call optimal. For whatever it's worth, my experience with MK, and this is going back a year, maybe 2 years, it elevated my IGF-1 levels above, not much, but above the top of the range. That was at 25 milligrams a day, but I was only using it Monday through Friday. I took Saturday and Sunday off.
That was smart.
And I think I kept the use to 4 weeks, 6 at the absolute most. But here's the thing that really sunk it for me. Right? We talk about sides and certain ones not being worth it. You retain water like nothing on that, like nothing else almost. I mean, I put 10 pounds of water on like that. And while that would have been fun, 20 years ago when I was a really young man, because I like to see the weight go up on the scale, that hurts me tremendously now. It hurts handstand push-ups, it hurts chin-ups, it hurts dips, it hurts one-legged squats, it hurts all that stuff. And so if you're adhering to the percentage of body weight training equivalent to your age, which in my case is 52%. So a little over half of my training, actually three quarters, is body weight, and it hurts it. And not everybody wants all that water, so that's another downer. Now,
Well, there's one other thing I want to throw in here that
yeah,
was discovered but overlooked by everybody who read about MK677. But constantly elevating ghrelin. Remember, ghrelin is a hunger hormone. Usually, after you eat, it drops. But having ghrelin elevated all the time seems to precipitate fatty liver disease.
wow, yeah, you know, it's just it's common sense, right? I mean, when MK came out, a lot of people said, "Oh, look, you know, I've been on it for a year. My blood work shows no problems whatsoever." Well, not all problems show up on blood work right away, right? And there are others that don't show up on it, like the water retention that will show up in other areas, like your blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So as you can see, right, MK is far from the perfect legal solution. Um, and so I'm really excited about that new sponsor. Now, I will say, if you are of the bodybuilding to the max persuasion, if you're looking for a truly additive muscle building fat loss effect with the androgens that you're taking, even if it's just HRT, I would tell you using real growth hormone is the way to go. It is easiest, it's the easiest, and it's likely the only way to reach truly supraphysiological levels bodybuilders would find effective for things such as enhanced fat loss, hyperplasia. It's speculated that growth hormone can do that in very high doses. I happen to agree with that for a number of reasons, but the bottom line is real GH is going to give you more of the bodybuilding effect than any amount of MK. Um, Even when you see
But
eyes,
you got to use those higher doses. Do you know how much growth hormone a day I use?
no idea. 2 IU?
0.8 I
N-
use.
Not even 1 IU?
No, because the anti-aging effects,
Yeah, you don't need the.
0.8 IUs is what has been studied that you won't develop crowding in the joints, your forehead won't get bigger than Herman Munster's, you won't have all the soft tissue growth in your nose and your ears. Um, zero point 0.8 is what A4M recommended all those years ago, and I use it. I use it with GHRP6
Yeah,
and modified growth factor 1 through 29, and my zero point 0.8 right before bed. And you can see my sleep tracker. Bam! I hit deep sleep for about an hour and a half, and then I start to cycle up and down, up and down, up and down. So,
yeah,
if you're going to use real growth hormone and you want to be foolish, then go ahead and use 5, 6, 7, 8 IUs a day. You'll retain water too from that. You'll end up with carpal tunnel syndrome. You'll end up
diabetes.
with all the but you'll look like a bodybuilder. I just
Yeah,
take 0.8 IUs a day, and that's it.
yeah, good. I mean, I think what you come to learn, and I've used all those products except for real GH. What I've come to learn is that less is more. Um, so take that for whatever it's worth. On a final note, I'll say this, because it never left me, and it's true. I can't believe I couldn't put one and one together on this, but I have had more than one IFBB pro, curiously all of them women, tell me growth hormone and Synthogen are just the bomb, right? And at first, I thought to myself, because this was a Facebook message, I thought, they're just pulling my leg. The old joke of, wow, this dibencozide works fantastic with Tren.
Yeah, with Trent, right? Yeah, right.
So that's what I figured it was. But she wrote back and she said, no, she said, I'm 100% serious. It is about as dramatic an effect as you can get when Synthogen and growth hormone are used together. And so I did not use real growth hormone. I did use the peptides with Synthogen. I did use the MK with Synthogen, and she's absolutely right. The healing effects. Synthogen itself is pretty dramatic. It'll wipe away DOMs. It'll take care of injuries in some cases. But boy, you pair it with something that elevates growth hormone, and you are on another level. So just take that for what it's worth. Now, final note on GH, it's no miracle, right? You have to remember, even if you're using the real deal, it's going to take time.
Long term. It's a long-term investment. It is.
We're talking 6 months or more, right? So, understand that. You got to put the work in, just like everything else. And remember, GH is a tool. It's a tool in the toolbox, nothing more, nothing less.
Sean Watson says, do you have a preference of testosterone, IPA, or CJC? First of all, ipamorelin and testosterone are ghrelin agonists. CJC is a growth hormone releasing hormone. They're different. You need them both. You need a ghrelin agonist and a growth hormone releasing hormone in order to maximize the growth hormone production. One won't do it by itself. Okay? Now, the GHRPs are better than testosterone and ipamorelin. GHRP2 is more appropriate at night because it does not produce produce a cortisol rise. GHRP6 does increase cortisol, which some people feel is inappropriate to do at night. But if you take melatonin with it, that suppresses the cortisol production from the GHRP6. Ipamorelin and testosterone are not as effective as GHRP2 or 6. And CJC, I got to clear this up one more time. CJC was actually trademarked by the Konjac company. That's where the CJC comes from. And it has a side chain on it that makes it bond to the albumin in your blood and stay active for 7 days. I don't like CJC, real CJC. But unfortunately, the peptide suppliers call it with DAC and without DAC. It's like saying, do you want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich with mayonnaise or without mayonnaise? It's like, well, it's not a peanut butter and jelly sandwich if you put mayonnaise in it.
Yeah.
And so I like modified growth factor 1 through 29. And men take 100 micrograms, women take 50. And the same thing with a GHRP, either 2 or 6. 50 for women, 100 for men. And that's going to produce, because the ghrelin agonist suppresses somatostatin. Somatostatin is the brake.
Right.
The growth hormone releasing hormone is the gas pedal. If you step on both of them at the same time, your car may roll, but it's not going to go. You got to take your foot off the brake and then put your foot on the gas pedal for you to get great. So the ghrelin agonist takes the foot off the brake. It says to the pituitary, yeah, you can produce growth hormone if you feel up to it. And then the modified growth factor 1 through 29 is the gas pedal, and it says, yeah, let's squirt some out right now. You got to use both of them, but don't get them confused and stay away from CJC 1295 with DAC. I'm sorry I have to add to the confusion by using that terminology, but that's what everybody calls it.
Yeah, so one final clarification. Will, what is it, GRF 1 through 29?
Modified, growth releasing factor, right.
Does that amplify every individual, burst of growth hormone throughout the day?
No,
It doesn't.
No, because now you're back to doing something that the body doesn't like, and it's going to start to suppress the production. Right. No, it's just bam. Okay. And that's all you want, because it's not the production of growth hormone you're looking for. It's the downstream metabolites that stick around.
Yeah, the IGF.
Right. The production of growth hormone is like pulling the trigger. Bang. It's gone. The bullet's gone after that. So,
good analogy.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. We have more questions. We have questions that we'll get to that people are asking, and lots of write-in questions. In the meantime, while we're not here, you can go to, while you're listening to the commercials, please listen to the commercials. That's how the show makes money. Don't forget to go to CoachRobRegishj.com. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Superhuman Radio.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, You'll gain with it.
Being superhuman means being conscientious about the choices we make. White Oak Pastures is superhuman when it comes to raising livestock. They're committed to animal welfare, land regeneration, and rural revival. They responsibly manage the entire process from the pasture to your doorstep. High-quality, pasture-raised, great-tasting meat from a farm you can trust. Full nose-to-tail selections. They even have options for your pet. Go to shrnetwork.biz/white oak and use the code SUPERHUMAN to save 10% off your entire first order. Remember those rectangular toaster pastries you used to love when you were a kid? Well, Legendary Foods has just made them better. The new cake-style tasty pastry is like nothing you've ever had before. With 20 grams of high-quality protein and less than 1 gram of sugar, you'll feel like you're cheating, but you're not. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use the code SHR10 to save 10% off your purchase of tasty pastries. Now available in cookies and cream, red velvet cake, birthday cake, blueberry, strawberry, brown sugar cinnamon, and hot fudge sundae. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use code SHR10 today. Are you 35 or older? Every year after puberty, your growth hormone decreases sometimes by 50% by the age of 35, and it only keeps going down from there. This affects everything from making it harder to recover from workouts, sleep, and a general loss of a sense of well-being. It also affects your ability to get and stay lean. Biopro Plus is the first of its kind, 100% non-synthetic alternative to prescription synthetic growth hormone treatments. All the benefits without any of the needles or side effects and 100% safe. Previously only available through doctors, you can go to shrnetwork.biz/biopro, that's BIOPRO, and use code SHR30 for $30 off today. There have been no new innovations in men's underwear for hundreds of years. That's all about to change with Sheath. Sheath creates 2 separate compartments for your man stuff so it doesn't get smashed into a mound and sweaty and stinky. I won't wear any other underwear now that I've learned about Sheath, and you won't either. Go to shrnetwork.biz/Sheath underwear. That's SHEATHUNDERWEAR. Use code SUPERHUMAN to save 20% off. I promise you, once you try a pair of Sheath underwear, you will never wear anything else. Hey, you've heard me talk about Masszymes from Bioptimizers for years now. It's a safe and natural digestive enzyme supplement that's for men or women that specifically helps you digest the protein in your diet. I never have a meal without at least 3 Masszyme capsules, and that's because I want every bit of amino acids from the protein I eat day in and day out to help this 64-year-old body continue to build new muscle and strength. Well, I can tell you how you can get a free bottle of Masszymes plus 3 free ebooks as a bonus, total gift worth over $81. You'll not only receive a free bottle of the best digestive enzyme for turning all the protein you eat into muscle-building amino acids, but you'll also receive the book From Sick to Superhuman, Plant-Based Superfood Delights, and the Ultimate Carnivore Cookbook, absolutely free with your free bottle of Masszymes. Take advantage of this opportunity fast because it won't last long. Go to shrnetwork.biz/freemassme, that's FREEMASSME, and see why I will never stop taking Masszymes.
This is the Superhuman Channel, where we use oxygen for the power of good.
Hey, welcome back. I hope those of you in the audience have taken advantage of this free Masszymes offer, because this is an enzyme I use with every single meal. I believe in it because it's specifically designed to break down protein. And as we get older, we have a hard time assimilating protein because the enzymes in our body start to slow down. And it's free. Even if you don't want the ebooks, get the free bottle. I'm telling you, you'll love it. Check it out. All right, Rob. The next question comes from things are not working the way I want them to.
Jerry Sags.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get back up to it. My pages are moving here. A window opened that I didn't ask to open. Here, Jerry Sags says, you've spoken about a variety of effective training systems over the years. If you were to just pick one, though, what would it be? Does it have to be one, Jerry? Come on.
Well, it's interesting. Many years ago, someone asked Dan Duchesne this very question, to which he gave a Zen-like answer. And he said, the best training system for you right now is the one you're not currently using. So in other words, All training systems ultimately will fail with time. And why? It's because your body is a master of adaptation. It does it day in and day out. The priority is to keep you alive, not to build muscle, but it will adapt to just about anything that you throw at it. And so I took I took that lesson to heart. I really did. And at first, I simply reasoned that if I could compile a list of all training systems that I found to be effective, that would be all that was necessary. Which is all well and good until you realize that blindly switching from one program to the next doesn't always work. In fact, most of the time I would say it doesn't. So here's what I mean. Because I had this happen to me and I've seen it, I watch it happen every day. Let's say you use, I don't know, XYZ loading pattern or program to establish a new 1 rep max, right? It's 20 pounds heavier than what you could lift previously. You're deadlifting 520 instead of 500. I observed that most people switching to something new had around a 50-50 chance, 50-50 chance of losing those gains. Never mind establishing a new, right, even higher 1 rep max. And so, you're going in circles. In fact, 50-50 odds I think would be generous, given most people don't have a short list of programs that allow for decent progress and that they know works for them in their own unique individual, physiology. So I decided to do something about it, which ultimately manifested in the form of the Blueprint's original training program, which consists, of 10 weeks worth of what I call phase shifts. And so here's what I'm talking about. Phase 1, it runs for 1 week, actually a little bit less, and that's called famine. After that, you have 4 to 6 weeks, sometimes 8 weeks, of the part of the program that we call feast, which is really where you're making a lot of your gains. And then you have 2 to 3 weeks at the end of what I called cruise, which is a period where you were to solidify your new gains and then set yourself up to get even more, to build on those. And the most enjoyable part of those phase shifts, frankly, was feast, given its modular design. What do I mean by that? What I mean is, if you know, high intensity training, 1 set to absolute muscular failure, if you know that works for you, you would insert it there, and it would be, not only would it work, it's going to work better than had you just added it, let's say, whenever. And there are reasons for that, and a lot of it is because of the state that the phases put your body into. And trust me, by the time you get to feast, your body wants to build muscle. It wants to assimilate massive amounts of nutrients from your food. It wants to grow, and it will, and it'll do it better than if you otherwise had just, like, say, winged it. So I essentially made it dummy proof, and the only real way to do that was to get people to change the type of training that they were doing regularly. It was and is impossible, almost impossible, but you know what I'm saying. Because at certain intervals, you switch to another form of training, which is amplified by the preceding phase. And that's what you don't see in every other training system that I've looked at. You don't see your gains building upon the preceding phase, which in and of itself was setting the table to slingshot into the next one. So I would tell you that the best program to use is, without question, not a program per se, but it is that shell. That shell that I have outlined of the phase shifts. And the reason for that is that you're changing not just for the sake of change, but you're changing for a purpose, right? A very deliberate purpose. I honestly don't see or know of another system. I don't know how it could compare, given the fact that you rotate through no less than 5 different types of training over the course of those 10 weeks. Now ask yourself the question, when was the last time you did that? For a lot of people, the answer is never. and that's why it hits them like a ton of bricks over there. They're like, holy shit, this stuff really does work, and it's fun because it keeps fresh, right? But if I gave you just carte blanche to do whatever you wanted, you probably wouldn't change after a week or after 2 weeks or from this type of training to that type of training, because we all like what? We all like to be comfortable, right? And so frequent rotation is the key, and it probably will always. I don't see how it can't be. The only problem I'll tell you is this: is that convincing young men to change their training is almost impossible, despite the fact that they'll agree with everything that you're saying, everything that you're proposing. It's just very, very difficult to get someone to make those changes. Now, I believe in this thing and have seen it work to an incredible degree, so much that I really want to bring it to the masses, much more so than I've been trying to do in the past. I need to finalize a plan with another party. Hopefully that happens sooner rather than later. But I want to get it out to the SHR audience, because I know anybody that tries it and does it the way I recommend, you're going to see everything that I just said is the truth, and then some. You know, you thrive on German volume training. Watch what German volume training does in Feast. You know, or high intensity training, or 5 sets of 5, or what have you. Those are all valid methods. The only question is, how do you arrange them? And to what degree will they work if you stick with them for too long? And I think we all know what the answer is. Your body flatlines, it adapts.
Chris K says, have you guys seen anything on melatonin increasing blood sugar? And what's your favorite supplement for restorative sleep?
I have not. That's not to say that maybe they're not finding that. I would be surprised after all these years that it's been out there. I've never heard of anyone on, say, hey, on my blood work, all of a sudden.
I mean, usually when your sleep improves, your blood sugar management improves also.
Right. And so the second part of his question, my favorite sleep modulator, so to speak, GABA, glycine, and the minerals zinc and magnesium, in addition to melatonin. If you can't sleep on that, then there's probably bigger.
Well,
bigger
and
issues.
there are melatonin gummies out there that have like 5 grams of sugar. Are you just taking a melatonin tablet that just has a little calcium in it? Which is like, most of them just have a little tiny bit of calcium to facilitate absorption of the melatonin.
Yep.
Or are you taking like some special melatonin gummy, drink or whatever that has sugar in it? I mean, I don't know. It's got to be more to it. Got to be more to it.
I use a 10 milligrams sublingual, no sugars in it. Excuse me, works very well. And 10 milligrams is a pretty good whack of melatonin if you're looking to explore the effect of higher dosages. But
yeah,
no,
I take the same. I take 10 milligrams also.
10 milligrams, yeah.
And it has a little calcium in it, and that's it.
Yeah, great stuff.
Richard Miller, the fitness freak, says, just left the eye doc, gentlemen, and got cleared for light training. Told my doc about what you said about vitamin C and vitreous fluids, and he said, Carl is exactly right, that most eye docs have no idea about the relationship between vitamin C and the eye. He said, Carl knows his stuff. Just wanted to pass that on to you guys. Well, that's very thoughtful. Thank you.
That's a very interesting part of your background and history. I never knew that you were at one point training to be.
Yeah, I was going to be an optometrist. Yeah.
Wow,
But then I moved to Las Vegas, and whores and cocaine took over.
They're a lot more exciting, right, than eyes.
Let's stay with this FYI conversation. So, and Richard also says, a conversation started with the eye doc because I told him I was taking 10 grams of vitamin C because Jack LaLanne did it. Good. Jack LaLanne lived to be 96 years old. At 80, you ready for this? You're not going to believe what I'm going to say. At 80 years old, he swam 8 boats with 80 people, one in each boat, around some harbor. Swam it around. I mean, he didn't just take it 6 feet and stop. He swam it around.
And he did it on national television, right?
Yeah.
For the world to see. Yeah.
He died at 96 because of complications of pneumonia. I'm not sure about what was going on in his life at the time. But you know what? He trained the morning that he died. So he wasn't in the bed. I heard Paulie Walnuts died. I'm very sorry. Tony Sirico, he was on Sopranos. But his last days, he was withered. He was 79 years old. He looked ill. He looked like he was going to die. And this is sad. I saw a guy who's dying right now at 65. He's a year older than me. And he's withered and he's dying. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm 64. I'm only a year younger than this guy. Yeah. What matters is what you do with your body. What did you say? Leo Costa says the body becomes
its function.
Its function. So if you keep functioning, you keep pushing, you keep driving harder and harder, stronger is younger. I've been saying it forever. Stronger is younger. Focus on strength. You'll get younger.
Yeah, and the real clues. Doesn't O'Hearn do 10 grams of C a day too? Yeah,
and Porter Control's been doing 6 grams forever, and Porter looks amazing.
Yeah,
I mean he's still muscular. Yeah,
there's a lesson there.
So here, let's get another question from. Let me see who we have here. Well, I don't want to. Jason Pointick says, "Are either of you doing intermittent fasting?" Excuse me. I was thinking of stopping and rebooting, i.e., 5 small meals a day for a while, intermittent fasting. So I do time-restricted feeding, but I eat 4 or 5 meals a day. So I don't understand why you even have to reboot.
I'm with you. I've been doing it since 1999, when the original Anabolic diet was published. I don't know if you remember that. That goes back almost to the beginning of the internet. There was a man writing all about what was later to be known as intermittent fasting, and then Ori Hofmeckler's interview with T-Nation in '99, 2-part interview, sealed it for me. I said, you know what? That's counterintuitive to everything I've ever been told. I love it. I'm going to give it a try. And 22 years later,
I stop eating at 6 o'clock. I go down and I do my cardio in the morning, and I'm not doing it 8:16. I'm probably doing more like I'm probably fasting 13 or 14 hours, and then I'm eating during the day, but I'm eating small meals. I had a half pound of chicken a little while ago and a peach. I'll eat after the show. But excuse me, they both can coexist. You can do time-restricted feeding and then have 5 small meals in the time that you can eat. I think that's the best of all worlds. You keep insulin level. You're leveraging the drop in insulin by not spiking it with a giant meal, and it just stays down there. So yeah, absolutely. I've been doing time-restricted feeding forever because it makes sense from an evolutionary perspective.
Yeah, and you can use it to potentiate traditional bodybuilding type of eating, which 6 small meals a day. And what I'm saying is, 3 days or 4 days of intermittent fasting, time-restricted eating, whatever you want to call it, 2 to 3 days of eating up in the bodybuilding fashion. Think about it. Intermittent fasting in the context of 24 hours is a microcosm, right, of what you can do with larger periods of it. So why does it work? It's because you're resting your digestive tract for 16 hours and letting the cells turn over. Apoptosis, I think it is. And so that happens in the context of 24 hours, 1 day, but you can also apply it in blocks. 3 days of intermittent fasting, 2 to 3 days of eating up, back to intermittent fasting, and so on and so forth.
So, I don't know if you can see this, but my thumb, you see that lump right there? It's infected. So we had people over the house a couple weeks ago, and I was cooking, and I sliced my thumb with a freshly sharpened knife. And because my blood is so thin, I take fish oil, I take vitamin E, it wouldn't stop bleeding. I literally thought I was going to have to go to the hospital and get it cauterized because the blood was just running like like a faucet with a bad washer. And Elisa said, "Are you going to have to go to the hospital?" I says, "No." I says, "Get me the crazy glue."
Yeah.
So I crazy glued the finger closed and then put bandages on it, and it healed. But now I think I got an infection in it because there's something under there that looks like pus. So,
yeah, get it checked out. I have quick clot bandages that I take out into the field with me anytime we go camping or doing survival stuff, and it's for that very reason. You know, I too I take aspirin, I take fish oil, I take all these other things, and even when I give every 2 months, they put that jar right next to me, that glass pint, and man, that blood starts spurting like there's no tomorrow. And the woman laughed and she said, "Geez, you're here because, you know, your red blood cell count gets a little high." They're concerned, right, that could lead to the blood flow slowing down and getting
not us. Not guys like us.
Not us, man. No.
I'm in and out of there when I donate. I'm in and out. They go, "Oh my God, your blood flows so well." Yeah.
Me too.
All right, stay tuned. We're going to take one quick commercial break. When we come back, we got more questions to answer. We'll get to everybody's question, I promise. You are watching and listening to Superhuman Radio. This is the Blueprint Power Hour. Stay tuned. The Hercules Pre-Workout from Lost Empire Herbs is like no pre-workout you have ever had before. Completely natural formula designed specifically to optimize workouts, provide quicker recovery time, provide adequate nutrition, and get you away from all those no-good, overstimulating pre-workout supplements on the market today. The Hercules Pre-Workout blend is a mix of extracted natural herbs and mineral pitch. No fake colors, no added flavors, nothing else. Not only will Hercules Pre-Workout formula help your workouts, but you'll likely discover lots and lots of side effects, beneficial side effects. Go to shrnetwork.biz/lostempire today to learn more. GHKCU is one of the most effective peptides for rebuilding more youthful skin, reversing skin damage, diminishing wrinkles, and tightening loose skin. I personally use Restorative with GHKCU every day. It's making an undeniable difference in the quality of my skin. Restorative is fantastic for all types of skin. Now you can order Restorative and save 25% when you use the code SHR25. That's SHR25. While you may be diligent in your workouts and your diet, don't neglect what people see first and foremost, and that's your skin. Go to shrnetwork.biz/blue and use code SHR25 today. I would easily say that I am the hugest proponent you will ever meet to doing anything that will improve the quality of my sleep. And that's because sleep is linked to just about every metabolic disorder we see in our population today. One of the easiest things you can do to improve the quality of your sleep is to get a pillow that can be shaped into the exact form factor that allows you to get your best night's sleep. And that is MyPillow. I've been sleeping with MyPillow for a few years now, and I can tell you that when I have to travel and stay in hotels, I don't get a good night's sleep because I don't have MyPillow with me. Right now, you can save up to 60% off of everything offered to improve the quality of your sleep at shrnetwork.biz/MyPillow when you use the code SHR. Or you can call toll-free 800-889-4938. And remember to use code SHR to save up to 60% off of everything at their website.
Dogs should be powered by fat and protein, not carbs. That's why Visionary Pet makes low-carb, ketogenic dog food for dogs of all breeds and life stages. From kibble to freeze-dried and even low-carb treats, all Visionary Pet recipes are very low-carb, ketogenic, and made with 100% real meat protein. Shop now and use code SHR for 20% off your first order today. Your dog deserves the lifelong benefits of optimal nutrition. Make the switch to Visionary and see why smart dogs eat low carb.
Are you suffering from signs of an unhappy gut? Diversity is the key to healthy, robust inner ecosystem. Body Ecology probiotic liquids are made by fermenting organic seeds, biodynamic brown rice, and chickpeas together to create a diverse culture found nowhere else on Earth. It's the secret to restoring your gut's microbiome for a healthier digestive tract, improved immune function, and longevity. Take 20% off by visiting the website shrnetwork.biz/lostempire shrnetwork.biz/bodyeco. shrnetwork.biz/bodyeco. That's BODYECO. And using the code SHR20. Remember those rectangular toaster pastries you used to love when you were a kid? Well, Legendary Foods has just made them better. The new cake-style tasty pastry is like nothing you've ever had before. With 20 grams of high-quality protein and less than 1 gram of sugar, you'll feel like you're cheating, but you're not. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use the code SHR10 to save 10% off your purchase of tasty pastries. Now available in cookies and cream, red velvet cake, birthday cake, blueberry, strawberry, brown sugar cinnamon, and hot fudge sundae. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use code SHR10 today.
You are listening to the Superhuman Channel. We're ripped and we're ready.
Hey, welcome back. I got to give a shout out to one of our sponsors, and that is Feel Free, Botanic Tonics. I'm starting to use a quarter of a bottle to a third of a bottle as a pre-workout. I'm using BFR bands now in conjunction with my ARX machine. If any of you have noticed, my body is exploding. But it's painful because the lactic acid buildup happens so rapid and burns so bad that this stuff gets me through it. If you haven't tried Botanic Tonics yet, you're really missing out. A third of a bottle pre-workout, a half a bottle to go out and be, let's say, more social. You'll have a little bit of a buzz. Go to shrnetwork.biz/feelfree. Use the code SHR40 for 40% off. Rob, have you tried this stuff yet?
I have not. However, I've heard of what they've done insofar as coupling the compounds involved, and it's very.
There's a tiny little bit of kratom in it.
Yeah.
But it's predominantly pineapple juice, which has an enzyme in it that facilitates the kava. And you don't, at a third of a bottle, you just feel good. Yeah, I mean, the bottle says feel free. You feel good. You don't feel sluggish. You can train as hard as you want. Half a bottle, now you're starting to feel like a little buzz. You feel a buzz. But it's nice. It's nice. I love it.
It's a very feelable effect. It certainly has merits insofar as a pre-workout, but also other areas like socializing. You know, if you're not a socializer like me, you know, introvert, or at least I was, that stuff helps a lot.
We will get to everybody's question. I see lots of questions. John Braun from Ireland, my buddy. We'll get to everybody's questions. Sit tight. So this question was mailed in from Seth Flanders. He said, I listened to last week's episode about AST Supplements Company, and just for fun, went to their website, but I didn't see anything especially exciting. They used to put out great stuff. What happened?
Yeah, well, you know, we've talked about this a couple of times, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but AST has not been an innovative company in a long, long time. Having said that, I think their downfall is worth examining, because I did a little digging, and it really speaks to some of the perils, I think, of going into this business. So here then is what really happened that sunk AST Research, now AST Sports Science. It was December of 2003, and the FDA had just put AST and 61 other companies selling ephedra on final notice. They announced that it would ban, the FDA would ban, and did ban, all ephedra products in 4 months. And so AST, unlike many other companies, which immediately complied with the order, they actually stepped up a 2-for-1 promotion, right, on their inventory of Dimetadrine Extreme. And so this was a very savvy, to be frank, ephedra, caffeine, green tea type product, very strong, very excellent, good pre-workout. And it was their flagship ephedra product. And I'll never forget, the website read something to the effect of, hey, buy 6 Dimetadrine Extreme, get 6 more free. You know, I mean, that was a 3-day special that was up on their website in or around March of 2004. And it didn't seem to matter, and I found this out later, that AST let its product liability insurance lapse, which apparently had already happened, and it left them exposed, so to speak. AST eventually conceded that mounting quote-unquote opportunistic lawsuits over ephedra was threatening to sink the company. The first lawsuits started around 2001, and apparently it took many, many years to resolve all of them. But AST did not wait around to make their next move, which is to say, on April 30th, 2004, 2 weeks after the FDA's ephedra ban, they filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection in Denver's U.S. Bankruptcy court. But if you dig a little deeper, you find out that it wasn't just the ephedra issue that really sunk them. There were a total of 9 lawsuits, 5 involving ephedra, and interestingly enough, 4 class action lawsuits filed with respect to AST's pro hormone line, right? Which you didn't hear about as much, but certainly I know, Carl, you have some experience with that. They were pushing it, like a lot of companies, pretty heavy.
And they haven't even attempted to become a new company. Like lots of companies had to reinvent themselves. They went through tough times. They made some mistakes. They created some bad feelings in the community, but they moved forward. They came out. They said, look, I know that we didn't do the best, but we're going to be a different company, and here's how we're going to do it. They don't even care. I kind of feel like they've just given up. They figure, yeah, we sell some stuff, we sell it. Who cares?
Yeah, and it's too bad because there was a point in time when I was hanging on every word they said.
I know Paul. What were their leaders? Skip LaCour.
Paul Dahlia was the.
Paul, yeah, I mean these two guys.
I think he still is the president. Yeah. The founder of the
Yeah.
company.
Yeah.
But really, I think the honest answer to the question of what happened to AST is this: it was best summed up by Paul Dahlia himself, the guy who founded and runs the company. He once told the Rocky Mountain News something to the effect of, we had become a litigation company instead of sports nutrition, right? Research, development, marketing, and all that. And that probably is very, very true because let's be honest, when you're a small company, and I don't think they were ever more than, 20 employees. When you're a small company like that, everyone's wearing multiple hats. And I'm sure Dahlia had his hands full with the legal issues and had very little time to devote to product research and development. And just about that time is when AST's decline, right, coincided with all those legal things. And you never saw another innovative product again. And to your point, they never made the effort to look back and say, okay, these are the mistakes we made. These are the good things about our company. These are the things that we need to improve. Let's take that information and move forward and make another go of it. They just could not capture that lightning in a bottle thing that they had going when the company was new, right? And the products were anything but innovative, still aren't. And they never certainly worked as well as the originals. Today, as an example, AST doesn't even carry GABA or Dimetadrine Extreme, nor any thermogenic. Those are 2 products.
But I thought they were coming out with a new Dimetadrine. I thought I just saw something recently saying to get ready because the new Dimetadrine is coming out.
That may be so. If it is, I'd love for you to forward it to me by all means, or maybe somebody can look it up. But I mean, think about it. And so no GABA, which they introduced to the industry. No pre-workout, which they pretty much introduced in the industry. And no pro hormones, with the exception of DHEA. I mean, think about that. DHEA is something you could buy anywhere today, right? You could buy it at Walmart, and they've got that up on their website as their quote-unquote pro hormone of choice. About the only good thing that you can say if you're AST research right now is, hey, we're still here and doing business. Barely, it looks like. Where many of their late 90s contemporaries, such as Sports Pharma, Sports One, Ultimate Nutrition, there was another one here in Connecticut, I forget the name of it, they all went out of business. a long, long time ago. And
So they're hanging on. That's for
they're
sure.
hanging on, and how they're doing it, selling away isolate and a couple other odds and ends, I don't know, but apparently they are. I don't know. I don't foresee great things for them. I think what that's going to take is an infusion of not just maybe new money, but
New
also,
blood.
yeah, the minds.
And then
need
if you're
minds.
gonna why go in there and their brand isn't popular. It's not like their brand is worth anything anymore. So
Right.
just start a new company. I mean,
Yeah.
I think AST Research has a lot of skeletons in their closet to even try to relaunch.
Yeah, and it came out that Delia has a lot of shadow companies. So it's not like he couldn't reopen his doors under another name, right, with another approach. But that's how it ended, and cautionary tale, I guess, for anyone hoping to get into the business.
So Taylor C says, "Hey Carl, what about starting an offshoot of SHR called Superhuman Nation?" Actually, we had Superhuman University
Yeah, I remember
with
that.
trainers and health coaches and specialists. It's too much work for me, and it's not. You know what? We were going to do online courses, webinars.
We did a couple.
Yeah, we did add an inch to your upper arms in one workout, and it worked.
Yeah, I mean, we got great feedback on that too. People loved it.
But it's too much work for me, and it's too hard. And the area of health and fitness podcasting has become overwhelmed with people who are talking about shit that we talked about 10 years ago, and they're like, "Oh my god, this is amazing." It's
New.
like, oh
Yeah.
please, no. Gun leash is my future. My hope is by 2024 I'm not doing live shows anymore, or I find someone else to host the show for me. One or the other. I'm going to go down a path that will provide me with a lot more opportunity. I mean, I'm competing with people like Dave Asprey, who is looking more and more feminine every single day. I took a screenshot because I want to do something with this. I just haven't decided what. But the screenshot says, Dave Asprey plans to live to 180, and here's the multivitamin he takes for longevity. Like, first of all, a multivitamin is going to help you live to 180.
Yeah.
Seriously?
Micronutrients.
And you're not going
Micronutrients.
to live to 180, Dave. Maybe you'll live to fucking 80. Maybe, if you're lucky, you'll live to 80. You got no muscle left. You're looking more and more feminine every single day. Get in the fucking gym and do what actually increases longevity in humans, and stop with that bullshit that too much muscle is not good. That's what people who don't want to work hard say. That's what that is. But I
all
mean,
you need to do is take
these are
supplements.
look at this guy. This is what I'm competing with, and he's everywhere. And people are spending tens of thousands of dollars to follow his bullshit. He's not going to live to be a fucking 180. Please stop it.
And his message is, just take supplements.
Oh, it's all supplement. Yeah, well, take pomegranate juice. Take this. Take that. Take this. Buy this from me. Buy this from me. Buy this. I'm going to live to be 180. If you want to live to be 180, buy this from me. I mean, it's so shystery and so slimy and so smarmy now, and I can't fucking believe people follow him. But then again, I couldn't believe people followed Jimmy Moore, a guy talking about the keto diet that was 600 fucking pounds. It's like, really? You're taking diet advice from this fucking guy here? Seriously? I mean,
Wow.
I'm not bitter, but I'm done with this category. I really, really am. The gun leash, I'm going to make a prediction. 6 years and I'm out with Gun Leash, and I will sell that company for over $1 billion. I got an amazing plan. I'm working with people from Silicon Valley. I'm working with a gal who worked for Steve Jobs. I'm working with a guy who owns 3 big .com companies in Silicon Valley. And every single time I talk to him, he goes, "Carl, this is the best business I've ever seen." I mean, it's just...
My hope is that you are so successful that you are able to do this show because you want to do it.
No, I'm going to go find an island. I'm going to lay on the beach. I'm going to train for hours and not feel guilty for training for hours. I got my life all plotted out. I'm going to be a very boring person, and people are going to say, "Hey, whatever happened to that guy that had the podcast, Superhuman Radio?" What? I don't know. It just disappeared one day. Yeah, I'm going to buy my own fucking island, and that's it. Aiden Ray says, recovering from medial cruciate ligament tear. Any tips on quad work? Don't get too aggressive. That's obviously. Currently doing lighter box squats, unable to perform leg extensions or lunges due to knee pain. Are you using peptides? You know, if you can get growth hormone, otherwise BPC 157, mechano growth factor, AOD 9604, put them in a syringe and inject them as close to the injury area as possible. There's a video that I've done showing how to inject pretty close into the knee. That's going to help you a lot faster and heal a lot stronger. Oh, and oxytocin. We did a show last year that showed in women it wasn't estrogen that increases bone mineralization and soft tissue repair. It was oxytocin elevated from estrogen therapy. So oxytocin is great for bones and tendons. People don't understand.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Gentlemen, just curious, would the aspirin in Bronchade, caffeine aspirin stack, have a negative effect on muscle growth like Advil and Tylenol? It's very little aspirin in there.
If you look back, you see reference to the ECA stack, ephedrine, caffeine, and aspirin. And subsequently, in most circles, the aspirin was dropped. Now, why was that dropped? Were there studies saying that, aspirin hurts muscle growth? I think there were. I don't remember them. I don't remember the specifics. What I do know is this: aspirin is not for everyone. I take 2 baby aspirin a night, and I have for 2 years now, maybe. You give someone that same dose, someone else, and it'll burn a hole in their stomach maybe, or otherwise give them big problems.
And you're taking enterically coated, right?
Yeah.
I just went back to the enterically coated. I was buying the chewables because they taste good, but I just went back to the enterically coated because I don't want to give myself a stomach problem.
Right. So whether it's aspirin from a pharmaceutical company or white willow bark, it's not always appropriate. It's much more problematic. If you can imagine this, because this is the truth, it is much more problematic in individuals than a normal dose of ephedrine or ephedra and caffeine, or caffeine from kola nut, or the other herbal sources. Guarana seed is another one. So consequently, it was removed. In some products, I've seen it come back, but it has to be tough to sell. I would think as a company that makes that product, knowing what aspirin does and the good things it does and also the bad things, I'd rather give my consumers EC instead of ECA. And I think that's where most of them wound up. I don't know if aspirin truly stops muscle growth.
I don't think it does. Not in small doses. I don't think it does.
Yeah, I suspect it's an individual thing, and it's obviously how much you take and how long and that sort of
And
thing.
those guys that were using the ECA stack got big. I mean, there wasn't like, oh, I don't understand why I train so hard. My muscles aren't growing. They were using it. They were using it as a fat burner because the value of the aspirin was by thinning the blood, the other compounds were able to stimulate the fat lipolysis by getting deeper into the small vasculature feeding your fat cells. That was the theory.
Yeah, but you're right. I mean, you never heard in the real world from someone who said, "Oh my God, when I took it with aspirin and ECA, it didn't work."
Yeah, my body got small. Richard Miller says, as a boxing trainer, we have crazy glued many a boxer's face. That's a good one. John Braun, who watches from Ireland, says, hi, Rob and Carl. What is your favorite go-to exercise, reps, and how many times a week you train your abs? I don't train my abs at all.
As far as go-to exercise, I guess it depends. For the pull-up, to me, is one of the ones that people.
But I think he's talking about abs only. He's talking about his abs. I think the inchworms are good. If you want to make your abs stronger, the inchworms are good, or planking is good.
I got 3 suggestions: planking, hanging straight leg raises, and also that same type movement, but laying flat on the ground and putting a support beam behind your head and grabbing it, right? And then keeping your legs straight and very slowly lowering them. Just, don't touch the ground, but get close, then come back up. And then again, the negatives. You will be shocked at how much strength and also the extent to which your abs are worked. It's a great segue from weighted planks to true hanging straight leg raises. If you get in it, from there, if you can do those, then it's controversial, but I think toe touches to a bar when you're hanging from it. That takes a degree of strength even greater than.
The only problem with those, the prime movers are hip flexors. So when you look at the abdomen, you look at the body. This is the spine, and this is the abdomen. The job of the abdomen is to keep the spine from overextending, right? So the best plane to train your abs, if you want strong abs, is the movement everyone hates to do. You get that little wheel, you get on your knees, you extend all the way out until your arms are extended, and then back, and planking, because that's the plane that you train your abs to make them stronger, because that's the plane they are most designed to work in. But as far as seeing your abs, that's all diet. I can see my abs, and I'm not training my abs at all. Between you
and to the last point I'll make, I think it's worth remembering. In almost all cases, the abs, when they get worked, are static.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're doing chin-ups or you're doing dips or you're just standing, or doing hands, the abs, you aren't actually experiencing trunk flexion, but rather, the abs are being held static like this.
And in fact, if you do a lot of ab work where you're crunching, you actually are creating a divide between your lower and upper abs, and you'll end up, instead of with nice flat abs, you'll have that boop, boop, and your lower abs, you end up with that little belly. Yeah. So let's see here. Sean Wasson says that he likes the stuff, both the Botanic Tonic and True Kava, and then he says he has not tried to use Botanic Tonic yet for a workout. He's going to try that tonight. Just a third of a bottle, very, very little. It's all you need. You'll feel like training. I'm sure Taylor C was laughing hard at my comments about Dave Asprey, but it's the truth. I mean, come on. I mean, doesn't this guy have any fucking shame at all with the stupid shit he says? No, I guess not. That's what happens when when stupid people follow you, they make you think you're smart. When you say outlandish stuff like, I'm going to live to be 180 and here's the multivitamin I take. Are you fucking kidding me? A multivitamin? Come on.
Is it a show like ours where you can actually see him talking, or is it?
Yeah, but I don't think he takes any audience interaction. I don't think he dare, because he would have people light his ass up real quick. Yeah, couldn't follow him for more than 3 shows, Sean Wasson said. I'm sure we're talking about. Look at the doctors they take advice from. Yeah, right. Yeah. And Sean Wasson, we're almost to the bottom because we have to do the blueprint tip of the day. I just got some oxytocin. What is the dosage you like? Start out very low. You have to find the conversion. I don't remember what it is, but it's something stupid like 3 micrograms is an IU. Oh man! But you want to start out very low, 10 to 20 IUs at a time. And if you get a head rush, if you add, here's a secret no one knows. If you take it with GHRP6, you won't get a head rush. So if you take, before bed, I take 50 IUs of oxytocin. But remember my blend, my before bed blend, I take 50 micrograms of GHRP6, 50 micrograms of modified growth factor 1 through 29, and 0.8 IUs of growth hormone. I don't feel, I get a little pounding heart, just a little bit, but I don't experience. Oxytocin will make you shit your pants if you take too much. You'll think, oh my God, I'm dying. You really will. Because your heart will pound so hard and your head will get filled with blood and you'll think, what did I do? Like, am I going to die? It wears off after a while. It takes about 5-10 minutes sometimes. Wow. But yeah, I would start out very low, 10 IUs at a time and slowly go up from there until you feel like, oh, I don't like the way this feels. Last one, Aiden Ray. Carl, thank you for the advice on peptides for MCL. Currently utilizing with success. Do you all have suggestions for quad work until the knee is good enough, again, to handle extension? I would just keep doing squat work. You could do lunges, but I would be careful with too much weight.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Just,
Advice.
the normal way the leg is designed to work, just keep it in that. We're not designed to do leg extensions and leg curls. And I did them this morning because they're good. They're good isolation movements. But we're designed to do presses with our legs. We're designed to squat down and get up, squat down and get up. And I would focus on that personally.
Yeah.
All right. So we have the blueprint tip of the day. We're going to take our last commercial break. Stay with us. We'll be right back. And thank you for being here today.
Dogs should be powered by fat and protein, not carbs. That's why Visionary Pet makes low-carb, ketogenic dog food for dogs of all breeds and life stages. From kibble to freeze-dried and even low-carb treats, all Visionary Pet recipes are very low-carb, ketogenic, and made with 100% real meat protein. Shop now and use code SHR for 20% off your first order today. Your dog deserves the lifelong benefits of optimal nutrition. Make the switch to Visionary and see why smart dogs eat low carb.
Being superhuman means being conscientious about the choices we make. White Oak Pastures is superhuman when it comes to raising livestock. They're committed to animal welfare, land regeneration, and rural revival. They responsibly manage the entire process from the pasture to your doorstep. High-quality, pasture-raised, great-tasting meat from a farm you can trust. Full nose-to-tail selections. They even have options for your pet. Go to shrnetwork.biz/white oak and use the code SUPERHUMAN to save 10% off your entire first order. Are you suffering from signs of an unhappy gut? Diversity is the key to healthy, robust inner ecosystem. Body Ecology probiotic liquids are made by fermenting organic seeds, biodynamic brown rice, and chickpeas together to create a diverse culture found nowhere else on Earth. It's the secret to restoring your gut's microbiome for a healthier digestive tract, improved immune function, and longevity. Take 20% off by visiting the website shrnetwork.biz/bodyeco, shrnetwork.biz/bodyeco, that's BODYECO, and using the code SHR20. Are you 35 or older? Every year after puberty, your growth hormone decreases sometimes by 50% by the age of 35, and it only keeps going down from there. This affects everything from making it harder to recover from workouts, sleep, and a general loss of a sense of well-being. It also affects your ability to get and stay lean. Biopro Plus is the first of its kind, 100% non-synthetic alternative to prescription synthetic growth hormone treatments. All the benefits without any of the needles or side effects and 100% safe. Previously only available through doctors, you can go to shrnetwork.biz/biopro, that's BIOPRO, and use code SHR30 for $30 off today.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
GHKCU is one of the most effective peptides for rebuilding more youthful skin, reversing skin damage, diminishing wrinkles, and tightening loose skin. I personally use Restorative with GHKCU every day. It's making an undeniable difference in the quality of my skin. Restorative is fantastic for all types of skin. Now you can order Restorative and save 25% when you use the code SHR25. That's SHR25. While you may be diligent in your workouts and your diet, don't neglect what people see first and foremost, and that's your skin. Go to shrnetwork.biz/blue and use code SHR25 today.
You're listening to the Superhuman Channel. Don't hate us because we feel good.
Welcome back. And that moment we've all been waiting for. Here's where I give Rob Regishj the stage to himself, and that is the blueprint tip of the day. What is the blueprint tip of the day, Rob?
Well, the tip of the day has to do with why I don't follow professional bodybuilding. And,
Neither do I.
and you know, it's funny. We're here and we talk every week about what? This is bodybuilding. It doesn't matter how you slice it. If you're endeavoring to improve your health, your muscles, you lower your body fat, you're bodybuilding. But of course, there's that type of bodybuilding, and then there's pro bodybuilding. And so I like to talk to people in the gym, right? Especially the younger kids. And something strange that I found is that most of them don't want to look like pro bodybuilders today. You know, now the truth of the matter, of course, is that virtually none of them, even me, you know, 99.9% of people couldn't, even if we wanted to, look like that. Why? There's genetics, there's work ethic, there's willingness to sacrifice. These guys are willing to do it, and they've got the genetics and the other tools, so to speak. But even still, that stands in stark contrast to my day. And by that I mean, you used to be able to look up to professional bodybuilders, or at least the guys in the magazines, and at least draw some inspiration from them. Okay, you need to be realistic. I'm not going to look like Dorian Yates for various reasons, but man, I'd like to carry a lot of muscle like he's carrying. In the past 20 years, though, that has changed, and it's changed in a big way. And the best way I can put it to you is this. I used to look at these pros and think, wow, he looks awesome, right? I'd love to look like that. Guys like Arnold and Menzer and Haney and certainly Frank Zane, going back further, they all inspired me. And I wasn't the only one. A lot of people want to look like Frank Zane, frankly, in his peak. The guy looked great. So did Schwarzenegger. Today, I look at the pros and think, dead by 50. Frankly, that's what I think about a lot of them. And note, this is no indictment of anabolic steroids, right? Because we all know what the story is there. Anabolics were used by all of the guys back in the day that I just mentioned. Yet, few of them look like they look today, which in my opinion is downright unhealthy. And by the way, 4 out of 5 of them are still alive. Compare and contrast that to the number of top bodybuilders who've dropped dead in the last year alone. Some in their 20s. And you begin to get a feel, right, for what I'm talking about. I actually feel bad for a lot of pros, honestly. Because as an example, if you have an endorsement contract, and a lot of them do, with supplement companies, you're going to have to make X number of public appearances throughout the year. And so you can't be a quote-unquote IFBB mass monster and then show up noticeably smaller, right, to an event where people are expecting the freaks. Because that's what you are, frankly, when you're 300 pounds of muscle and ripped. As a result, the polypharmacy that they engage in never ends. Forget cycling. The closest you're going to get to that is, I'll lower my dosages for a few weeks, right? And I mean, that's what passes for cycling these days. Blast and cruise, whatever you want to call it. Now, consider that more than a few of them are using the truly dangerous drugs, things like insulin, diuretics, and let's be honest, in some cases, street drugs. And it's only a matter of time. You know what's coming. So do I. Steroids are the least of these guys' worries, as the other things that I just mentioned carry with them grave dangers. Grave as in gravestone. Not a few decades from now, minutes from now, if you screw up your insulin or diuretic or dose, or you get something, in that pill that you bought on the black market that you weren't bargaining for, namely fentanyl. And we know the tragic results of that. And it doesn't stop in the bodybuilding world, obviously. It extends to a lot of people and families, unfortunately, in this country. The other reason I have no interest in these guys is this: the drama that's involved. I mean, it seems they are forever beefing over something. Someone said something about someone else, or bumped into someone, on the call outs on the bodybuilding stage, or calls bullshit on what someone is claiming that they take for their steroid cycle or whatnot. You simply can't get away from it. If you follow that, and if you're a part of that world, that's largely, what makes it go around. So I don't even bother following them. Here and there, I'll hear about another death, another fight, another amputation or whatnot, or arrest. But that's about it. It is becoming a pro is a pretty crummy deal, if you ask me. And here's why. It's not like the IFBB is giving you your pro card, and oh, by the way, what comes with that is, here's your health insurance, here's a nice retirement plan, here's some paid vacation days off. No, that's not how it goes. When you turn into a pro bodybuilder, turning pro in most cases guarantees nothing, and quite likely means you're broke after paying for all of the drugs, let's be honest, at that level, food, and potentially bankruptcy level medical bills. And it's happened to more than a few of these guys, right? And those are the ones that are still around. So when you're the product, when your body is the product that you're selling, it's a trap. Because eventually the mirror will betray you. And when it does, in this line of work, you're out the door. They don't care about you. They've made their money off you. I wish I had the answer about what to do. I really do, because I know how hard these guys train, and women, and I know the sacrifices they make. Everything from the dinner table to their social life to, in some cases, having children and starting families. All of that is foregone for the trophy, right? It is a physical zenith, however, that 99% of us could never achieve, even if we wanted to. But as it stands today, if you find yourself enamored with making bodybuilding your living or your profession, you have massive odds stacked against you, much more so even than I think in any other sport.
Well, yeah, and there's no rewards. Elisa was just telling me about a girl that she follows on Instagram who just won a very, very high level competition somewhere in the Midwest.
Yep.
And like she's already an IFBB pro. She got a stupid sword and $3,000. She probably invested $30,000 over the course of time to look that way.
Right. And lives out of her car.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, and really, it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't.
Right.
But unfortunately, when football players take the same drugs that bodybuilders do.
Right.
Baseball players, we already know that, right? Barry Bonds and all. Yep. They're all using the drugs. But somehow they've been able to obfuscate the media's attention to the drugs, except here and there. Mm-hmm. In bodybuilding, the drugs are right out in the open. The discussion of drugs is right out in the open. I mean, I remember seeing Iris Kyle on the Olympia stage, and she's a wonderful athlete, by the way. A very sweet, very attractive, little petite thing. I couldn't believe how small she is. But she had a lump on her hip. Like when she stepped on stage and turned around, the audience went, "Oh." Yeah. Because that's an injection site. She's injecting in the same place. And then, so the only way this works is if someone steps into bodybuilding who doesn't want to, what's the word I'm looking for? Abuse the athlete.
Yeah. Right.
Because, the Manions are making a bunch of money off of bodybuilding, but the athletes aren't. And so it's never going to change. It's just, it's very sad. Someone would need to say to themselves, we are going to make bodybuilding mainstream. And then whatever that means, they would have to do that.
And that happened at least once that I'm aware of, and it failed miserably. And what was it? In the early 1990s, Vince McMahon launched the World Bodybuilding Federation. And he didn't do this halfway. I mean, he hired Dr. Mauro Di Pasquale
And Fred Hatfield.
and Fred Hatfield and
Right.
I think Platts. And he signed some of Weider's biggest names. And he attempted to put it on pay-per-view and market these guys and, the whole 9 yards, the same way he does with the wrestlers. But it failed miserably.
They would have to, the first thing that would have to happen is the bodybuilding community would have to address and accept that bodybuilding is a pageant sport, like Miss America. It wasn't always that way.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you had 3 compulsory lifts that you had to achieve. That was counted as points. So
Right.
in order for bodybuilding to be legitimized, the first thing that would have to happen is you'd have to remove yourself from the pageant and make yourself a sport. How do you do that? Bodybuilders would actually have to perform feats of strength.
Right.
Maybe a bench press, maybe a squat, maybe I mean, look, we know people have an appetite for massively strong, ripped people. Look at Mariusz Pudzianowski. Everybody knows who Mariusz is. Nobody cares about strong men, but Mariusz looked like a bodybuilder. He had single-digit body fat, and he was deadlifting cars and throwing kegs and lifting 500-pound balls. Bodybuilding would have to reintroduce compulsory lifts. And the problem with that is there's a lot of guys out there who look really big and strong that aren't. That is why Ronnie Coleman was such a phenom. He was a freak. Not only was he ripped and massive, but he was front squatting 700 pounds. It's like, oh my God, this guy is amazing. We would have to reintroduce into bodybuilding compulsory lifts again. That's the first step.
Yeah, and really, if you wanted to take a step in that direction, in my opinion, you'd have to look back to Muscle Beach, the way things were, right, in the 1950s maybe, or 60s, where these guys didn't just look great. They, to your point, could perform incredible feats of strength and balance.
And Weider is the one who ruined that. Remember that York, all the York bodybuilders, they were strong. They had a strong squat, a strong deadlift, and they could compete, and they got points for it. But Weider said, "Oh, we don't need that. We're going to turn." And Weider effectively turned bodybuilding into a pageant, but not just a pageant. It would be the equivalent of a pageant if it was women who are undergoing all sorts of breast implants and glute implants and all these other stuff, and they're not even really what they look like, and they're getting up there. People would be disgusted by that. They think, "Oh my God, that's grotesque." That's what they did. They turned it into a pageant, and the drugs became more important than anything else, and they ruined it. They ruined bodybuilding. Joe Weider ruined bodybuilding. I know everybody kisses his ass, but I don't care because I'm not in bodybuilding. I don't give a shit. But reintroduce athleticism into bodybuilding, and then you'll see the media will start picking it up.
Yeah, and they should do it first with women's bodybuilding because, frankly, if you were around when Corey Everson was at the top of the heap and Rachel McClish,
Pudgy, what was the girl? Pudgy Stockton. Pudgy Stockton. She was beautiful. She
exactly. These women were just very, very
she was
attractive.
overhead pressing guys, and she looked like a goddess. She had a great body. She was beautiful.
Right.
You would take her out to a restaurant, and people would gaze at her because she's so beautiful. But
Right.
she was so strong.
They might be able to lift you over your head, but you'd believe me, you'd want to date them. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then it transitioned into something like, is that a guy or is that a woman? You know?
Well,
some
and again,
really-
you can thank drugs for that. These
Yeah.
women became masculinized because they were doing 200 milligrams of testosterone a week. That's an HRT dose for a man.
yeah. Yeah.
So no, bodybuilding would have to reintroduce athleticism in order to even try to become mainstream. But nobody wants to do that because everybody's happy with the athletes making no money and the organizers making all the money.
It's too bad. But those are few of the reasons why I don't follow it. Look, stay strong, work hard, and stay healthy. Because if you do get involved in competitive bodybuilding, when bodybuilding's done with you, you're going to realize it was health all along that was important, right? And you just can't get there, in my opinion, if you are idolizing and mimicking professional bodybuilders and de facto the risks that they have to take. And for making that attempt, it's quite literally a dead end. Quite.
You know, it's
literally a
funny.
dead end.
Anthony Roberts and I did a show in 2007, and the name of the show is probably still in my catalog somewhere. Was the difference between bodybuilding, one word, and bodybuilding, two words. The nuances there are so dramatic because building your body has nothing to do with bodybuilding the sport. And the problem is that most people hear, well, I'm a bodybuilder, and they immediately think of drugs and grotesque physiques and no athleticism, no cardio, trend. I can't even walk up the stairs. I'm huffing and puffing. And it's like they forget that in there is the art of how to build your body. And now we know the stronger you are, the longer you live.
And the better you live.
And the better you live, the less disease. But not if you're doing cycles of every chemical in the world to get strong. Right. So it's really sad. I've actually had discussions with some people over at bodybuilding.com who said they wanted me to host some shows for them, but now they've just disappeared. I gave them a bunch of ideas, and one of the ideas I said was, let's start talking about the difference between bodybuilding and bodybuilding. I said I actually did that show. Somebody's commenting here.
They'll probably take your idea.
Carl, I absolutely love your passion and your F-bombs. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Even Elisa says fuck now, and she blames me.
Is that
She's
right?
like, yeah.
You made it mainstream.
Fuck it's an adjective, it's an adverb, right. It's
very versatile, isn't it?
Yes, it's a very versatile word. I love it. I'm going to tell you a story, and then we'll end the show.
Okay.
When I was about 8 years old, my parents would send me to Upper Greenwood Lake, New Jersey, to get out of Brooklyn for the summers. And Upper Greenwood Lake, New Jersey was a very, very affluent area. And the people next door to us, the DeFinas, they were, his son Philip ended up becoming like a famous doctor. I mean, he wouldn't admit to me anymore. But one day, the mother came to my sister and said, we love your brother, but we can't let him play with Philip and Paul anymore. And my sister said, why? And he said, he's got such a filthy mouth. Every other word is fuck. So I was ostracized like at 9 years old because I had a filthy mouth, but I grew up in the streets, and that's just the way we talk. But yeah.
Well, it's a lot more prevalent today than it used to be, at least on TV and radio and whatnot. I mean, you never heard that. If you did, it was a beep over it, and then, the FCC made sure nobody heard that word. But boy, it's everywhere now, and I don't know. It's, in some cases, I think it's good because we need to get away from the PC nonsense speech that is killing this country and getting into talking straight about things.
I've said it all along. I'm too old to start apologizing for who I am. This is who I am, and you know where you stand with me. I'm right up front. I got no filter. I don't hold things back. Aiden Race is another great and unreasonable show. Thank you, gentlemen. Thanks, and Horn Frog on YouTube says my wife drops F-bombs and blames me as well. I know.
Hey, quick shout out George and Christy down in Dallas. I just wanted to say hi. And the other friends of the show that have written. I'm sorry I haven't been in touch recently. I've had a lot going on, but I just wanted to say thank you to them and everybody who tunes in every week to listen.
This whole audience, we have the best. This is the best audience, and I'm not saying that because it's my show, but this is the best audience because they apply critical thinking. They have logical questions. You can't pull the wool over their eyes. I love this show. I love doing. Maybe when I stop doing the show, all we'll do is the Blueprint Power Hour. Maybe that's
cool. I'd be up for that.
And please help a brother out and tell your friends to go to gunleash.com. If they own guns, if they carry guns, if they're thinking about carrying guns, I promise you they will find something they've never heard of or seen before. And I'm going to tell you something. This is going to change gun safety forever. And this is something that's bipartisan, because we can all agree that
Right.
being able to make gun ownership safer is a goal of everybody. There you go. All right, look, we'll see you tomorrow with more Superhuman Radio. Thanks for being here. Thank you, Rob Regishj, for doing all the heavy lifting. Go to CoachRobRegishj.com. Show him some love. We'll talk to you later, brother.
Thank you.
Take care. All right. See you tomorrow with more Superhuman Radio.